Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today is Monday, August 22nd, 2022. And we begin with a 16-year-old from Britain, now just a stone's throw from becoming the youngest person to fly around the world solo. Max Rutherford is due to touchdown in the UK today, and after a brief layover will take off for the final leg and land in Bulgaria on Wednesday to set the record. His trip around the globe hasn't been easy. According to the Good News Network, he's faced sandstorms in Sudan, Dubai's extreme heat, airport closures in India, and electrical failures in his fuel system. Through it all, he remained confident, likely because he was born into a family of aviators. His mom and dad are pilots, and his sister Zara set the record for youngest woman to circumnavigate the planet earlier this year. Do not awaken the sleeping giant. That's the advice of scientists keeping a watchful eye on an enormous ice shelf at the bottom of the world. The East Antarctic ice sheet is the biggest on the planet, holding the vast majority of Earth's glacier ice, and until now was thought to be sheltered from climate change. But Australian researchers now think otherwise and say warming ocean waters are melting the shelf from below and could unleash a 16-foot rise in sea levels from New York to Shanghai by the year 2500. Is it too late to reverse the trend? Not at all. Those same researchers say if world leaders keep global warming in check, meaning less than a 2 degrees Celsius rise, the sleeping giant will stay mostly asleep and only increase sea levels by a fraction of that amount. Not everyone has as exciting a first day of school as a Texas middle schooler. She bounced out of her Missouri City house last week, only to turn right back around and announce to her family that there was an alligator just outside the front door. And it was big. Not wanting her to be late to school, or him to be late to work, Dad Mike dug deep into his days of watching the crocodile hunter and threw a towel over its head to calm it down. That trick worked long enough to get his kids to school, but the reptile was still there when they got back. So Mike sat on its back, duct taped its mouth, then hauled it back into a nearby pond. And for good measure, Mike and his family filmed the whole thing for Facebook, knowing full well no one would believe him if he hadn't. In other Kid News notes, the First Lady is now clear of COVID. The White House says she tested negative twice after 5 days of isolating in South Carolina. She's now back with the president at their beach home in Delaware. Just down the road from the Bidens, a vacationing family got a bit more than they bargained for inside their $14 clam appetizer. Dad Scott Overland originally thought he crunched into a piece of shell. Instead, it was a rare purple pearl, which could be worth anywhere from $300 to $1,500. Pearls typically form in oysters, but sometimes pop up in other shellfish, like mussels and clams, too. And at least for this year, Wisconsin gets the nod for growing the best mullets. Caden Kershaw of Wausau won the Business in the Front, Party in the Back award for teens, while 8-year-old Emmett Bailey of Menominee took home the Kids Division trophy. That's it for Kid News. Now, today's Kid News quiz, generously sponsored by the Clarkson family, who'd like us to shout out to Cal and Sam Clarkson and all the teachers and students at Our Lady of Sorrows Catholic School in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome back to the Warriors. We hope you had the best year yet. Now, our Kid News quiz. How old is the teenager who should now be just one leg away from setting the record for youngest to fly solo around the world? Max Rutherford is 16. Where is the ice shelf known as the Sleeping Giant? Eastern Antarctica. What nearly got between a Texas girl and her first day of school? An alligator in her front yard. What color was the pearl found in a Delaware clam? Purple. In today's Kid News Kicker, a marine biologist in New Zealand is kicking himself for missing his time to shine. He wasn't home when a seal pup slipped in through a cat door, took a tour around the ground floor, then plopped itself on his couch. Phil Ross told The Guardian that this is really the only family emergency where it would be useful to have a marine biologist in the house. Instead, it was left to his wife, Jen, to escort the visitor out, then arrange for a ranger to ensure the seal's safe trip back to the ocean. How did it end up at his home in the first place? Phil doesn't know for sure, but said, like most teenagers, they can make bad decisions from time to time. As for the family cat, Coco didn't trust the all-clear call and spent a few days with a neighbor before returning home. According to Phil, they didn't see the seal-cat interaction, but it was clearly something that Coco did not enjoy. Before we head out, we want to again thank the Clarkson family, especially Cal and Sam, for sponsoring today's quiz. And we want to shout out our KidNuz teachers, starting with Mrs. Johnson at Our Lady of Sorrows in Birmingham, Alabama. Also, Mrs. Gilson and her Bobcats at Willow Grove in Piscinas, California. Mrs. Cazares and her 5th grade Braves at Vienna Finley in Scottsburg, Indiana. Mrs. Fincher and her Howling Beagles at the Fincher Family Homeschool in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Mrs. Wilson and her Wildcats at Bethlehem High School in Bonifay, Florida. Thanks for listening. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you back here for more Kid News tomorrow morning.